Greetings, Patrick here. 8 Questions with. Welcome to the show. It is Tuesday or Wednesday, 2 o'clock, and generally when we're up this early in the day, that can only mean one thing. We are doing an international show, and we are doing an international show today. We will be talking to actress, cosplayer, and model Dani Thompson will be here with us in about 15 minutes. Dani is an English actress, and she has done a lot of English horror films. And so we're going to talk to her about her career there. She also has done cosplay, and she's also done some modeling as well. Um, Saw some awesome pictures. Dani, she's the real deal. Very very cool looking young lady, and looking forward to talking to her about her career. And oh, thanks. Let's see who is joining us on Facebook today. I should bring that up. I should have did that. Okay. I always forget that. Hi, Liz. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. Yeah, Dani's gonna be a really fun talk to. I really looking forward to this. Um, yeah, it's and some of the movies that she's been in just right up our alley. I'm thinking of all the horror fans that I know that come in here and watch this. Some of the movies are just absolutely just tailor made for us. Of course, I put the one of the movies I put down there. I put down for our good friend Echo, who just walked in, and that was Werewolf Cabal. I had to put that down in there in her movie credits because of course, it's werewolves, right? And then, of course, I put one down on there because one of the movies I want to be talking to Dani about is none other than a movie called Big Cats. So I'm wondering if that's like a documentary about cheetahs or something like that. I have a feeling maybe not so much, but we're gonna ask anyway. This is only the first of two shows. The first of two shows. We will be back tonight at 8 o'clock. We'll. That's right, Echo. We will be back at 8 o'clock with young actor director Mason Greer at 8 o'clock. So that will be a lot of fun. I do want to give this a special shout out because we have been busting our ass trying to get our friend Lady Valerie up to 100 subs. So tonight on Echo side at 10:05 Eastern time, um, uh, uh, Echo will be either on the Echo side on his channel or popping the popcorn on her channel. And Echo, you could drop both your channels inside the chat there. Oh, there's the mighty Ice Lord is in the house. I had a feeling some of the fellows might be over here today because Dani Thompson is quite the looker. Let me tell you, I I've seen some pictures, and that's just exactly she's the prototypical screen queen. Super gorgeous, super sexy, and I most likely has a hell of a scream, right? Um, so I'm looking forward to that. We're like I said, we're gonna she's got a lot of credits to her name, and a lot of movies coming up too. I was That's really cool. What's really cool about this, I'm looking at her credits, and if this is all based in England, that is neat. That is neat. That's a lot of film productions going on in England right there, and that's a good thing to be seeing because they're always talking about the British film industry and our movies being made there. Kind of because it's hard to get movies made in Europe and in Great Britain and whatnot. It's hard, especially independent. So, but seeing this warms my heart. In fact, looks like she's doing a movie here, pre-production, called Ripper Revealed. So it looks like Jack the Ripper is still a very popular guest. All right, our guest just walked through the basement door, so you know what that means. We never leave a guest in the basement. We have to go get them. So we'll get that means all that means is that we get a little bit more time with our guest. So feel free to share us out and help me welcome in our guest, Miss Dani Thompson.
Hello. How
Hi,
are
Danny.
Hello.
Wow, wow! Look at you. You know what? Can you just come to America and be one of our swing queens? Can we make that happen?
I would love to. I have been out there. I've done a few films out there, but
Uh,
unfortunately, I don't have the green card.
oh, well, some producer will fix that. They're gonna have to look at you and say, you know what? It's worth the time. And I'm gonna pluck down the 10,000 because I know that from another young English actor who came out here. The green card costs $10,000.
Yeah, either that or I need to find a husband, an American husband.
Oh, so now you're single, huh? That's going to make a lot of people a lot of happy hearing that right now. A beautiful actress, single. Uh, See, the Ice Lord's already hooked. Says, "What a lady," and definitely most, very much a lady. You were very talented.
Thank you.
I looked at your background, and it's impressive.
Thank you.
Um,
I think I've been around a while, so you kind of rack up lots of credits and lots of work when you've been around for a while.
Yeah, but that's a lot of it has to do with demand, though. I mean, I know a lot of people have been around the business for a long time, but they don't have near the credits you do. I mean, so that tells me that you sell units. Your name attached to a project is bringing people. Danny's got a new movie out. I'm there, and of course, for producers and directors who want eyes on their movies, that's a good thing. And you also do cosplay.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say I do cosplay. I model, and people often book me, and they're like, "Can you put this on?" So it's not necessarily that I dress up myself as any characters. It's more that other people get me to dress up as them, and they pay me. So I'm like, okay.
Have you thought about doing the cosplay?
Um,
I know a lot of.
it's fun dressing up. I do like wearing the costumes. I don't know whether you're referring to the Wonder Woman stuff you might have seen. That was really fun. I mean, yeah, it's fun, but I mean, if I go to conventions, I tend to be working at them, so not really dressing up as comic characters. But it is a lot of fun. I've done like a little take on Indiana Jones, which is all very current at the moment, obviously with the new movie, which I still haven't seen yet. Um, but yeah, I mean, if there's a character I love, then it's fun to do. But yeah, it's not. It just happens.
Who's been your favorite character to dress up as? I mean, if you had your choice, would it be
Uh,
Wonder Woman?
the Wonder Woman was fun because I think when I curled my hair, it was kind of more like the old school Wonder Woman. Um, the Batgirl stuff's been fun. They were with two different photographers. Um, I've done a little bit of Scooby Doo. I'm a big fan of Scooby Doo, so I've done the Daphne. I haven't been Velma yet, so that's still to happen.
Believe me, there's a gentleman in our chat who absolutely would pay money, big money, for to see you do Velma because he did a review of the Velma series,
I've
and
seen it. I need to.
no, he's saying don't. He's saying
Oh,
it's not. He's saying it's not very good. He's he absolutely hated it. So if you dress like a Velma, I'm sure he would be very very happy to see that.
well,
Um.
I used to think I was probably more of a Daphne, but I think I'm probably more personality wise like Velma.
Oh yeah, the one Velma is she is the glue that keeps the team together, right? She's she really is the heart of Scooby Doo, and she's obviously the most intelligent as well. So yeah, I can see you. I can definitely see you as Velma for sure. Uh, now, do you like, I mean, are you a big fan of horror and science fiction or is it something did the movies come to you as far as horror movies, or did you go to them, saying, I want to get into horror movies?
I've always loved horror. So I think the first early films I remember watching were things like I remember watching Jaws with my dad, Arachnophobia, and then I really got into horror in my teens with Scream. So I was actually with my cousins. I was over in Canada actually when the film came out, and we were in their basement, or when the film came out on like DVD or whatever. And we were in their basement, and I watched it, and I just loved it. I loved that real the 90s, really glossy slasher movies. And that was kind of my, you know, when you're that age and you're sort of like teenager in high school, and so there was The Craft, and there was Urban Legend, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and there were so many of those films coming out at the same time, and I just loved all of them. So I've always been a horror fan. I've always loved watching horror. Before that, before the 90s, like I never watched all the 80s stuff. I was a little bit young. But I didn't really set out just to do horror. So when I went to drama school, I obviously trained. So we did the Shakespeare, and I'm never going to go booked to play Shakespeare characters. I don't look the part. But we kind of did the voice, we did the Shakespeare, you do all of the things that you do at other drama schools, but it was a screen acting school. So when I left, I would have been open to any roles that were coming my way. It just so happened that I ended up meeting a couple of directors who were doing horror films, offered me parts, and then from that, the UK horror industry, it's like a big family. Everybody knows everybody, and obviously the UK is very small. So you know, we never, you know, you're never 4 hours in a car away from, you know, anybody at all. So yeah, it just kind of had a knock-on effect. So somebody would like recommend me to another director, and there's film festivals here, very small ones, where you kind of see the same people every year, and from going to those and meeting people, the horror thing just kind of happened for me. But I'm glad it did. So now that I'm, you know, I feel like I've found my niche.
I was gonna say, you know, what's really cool about this, you know, I was looking at your credits, and what's really, you know, more than impressive than what you already have done, which is very impressive, but really made me happy, Dani, was seeing the movies you got coming up. You have like, according to your page, you have like over 20 projects coming up.
Well,
That to me states, I mean, you know, well, in the various forms of production. I mean, yeah, there are some that probably will fall off by the wayside. That does happen, but
yeah.
just the fact that there's actually over 20 projects that are on the board that could see the light of day.
Well, a
To
lot of
me,
them have been filmed and are in post-production. Some of them are being filmed currently. So yeah, I mean, of course, there are things up there that, you know, it was mentioned, they attached me, and it's never happened, and
oh,
kind of.
does it happen to you
But
a lot?
a lot of them are happening, or have been shot, or are filming, or imminently going to be filming.
Do you find people use your star, you know, like they use your name, like, okay, well, I want to try to get some investors in here, and so let's attach Dani Thompson's name to the project,
Well,
even though they haven't contacted you or your agent.
yeah. So usually it will be with filmmakers that I know very well, and I'm, you know, I'm definitely going to do the movie, and then I don't mind them kind of putting me in the, you know, if they're crowdfunding or something, then it's absolutely fine, because I know that, you know, I'm going to do that film. It has happened before where somebody, and it was a US production, they'd put me in their crowdfunding. So, you know, I had followers or fans that had then put money in, but they didn't raise enough money to, like, you know, they had enough money to do the film, they didn't have enough money to add me and like have me fly over. And so obviously then you get disgruntled fans who are, you know, then for your next product or next project, they don't want to put money in because they don't know if you're definitely going to be in it. So I'm very wary now. If I'm promoting a crowdfunding campaign, it has to be one that, you know, I'm 100% going to be part of. So yeah, I mean, it has happened, and I don't really blame them, because obviously it would have been a big expense to fly me over, but at the same time, it happened.
If they're gonna use your name, they need to. Well,
Mm.
I mean, I've seen that before, where people's name have been attached to projects that they didn't even know about. They were like, I never agreed to that. And you're right, you know, then they use your name to crowds fund, and that's got to be a little frustrating too. You know, it's like, you're right. It's just, you know, here you're using me to raise money for your movie, and you haven't even casted me yet.
Mm.
You're right. I mean, and you know, that you know, as being a fan of Dani Thompson, you know, that would be very frustrating to know that, you know, I'm contributing to a movie, whereas, you know, at the very last minute too, and you know this would happen at the
Mm.
very last minute, it'd be like, well, there was a casting change because we could, because of the of a work schedule, you
Yeah.
know, and that happens, and so there they go off at, they already gave their money, they already think the movie's happening, and then all of a sudden, the very last minute, they go like, oh, by the way, we couldn't cast Danny because she had another project she had to do.
Yeah. And in
And
which case they should do the honourable thing and give those fans back their contribution, because obviously they've put in the money for that particular reason. But it doesn't seem to work like that.
No, it doesn't. And I guess the best thing to do though is just to fight fire with fire, and that basically is, you have almost 15,000 fans on Instagram. Uh, you could go ahead and punch a big hole in somebody's lie by sitting there saying that, yeah, well, you know what, they used me for their, to fundraise for their film, but I'm not in it. And I'm just letting you know that I'm not going to be in this movie. But I think movie fans now, do you feel they're pretty sharp when it comes down to do you think they're pretty sharp when it comes down to crowdfunding? Do they?
I guess so. And I think if there's companies that have crowdfunded more than one movie, then what, those people funding know what they're putting themselves in for. So, if you've got films that have then been released, then people know that you're likely to get your next film out there, and it's not going, they're not going to give money for nothing and it's going to disappear. I mean, it's crowdfunding, it's the nature of the game. Obviously, that's the thing with the low budget films that don't have the investors. So that's always going to happen. So, I mean, I still do a few of the lower budget which have crowdfunding, but I tend to do more that do have the investment in now.
I think it's cool that you do help out. I mean, because there are some stars that once they get to that next level, where they don't have to crowdfund, their movies are already they already have a budget, they already have, everything's all, you go out, they sign your name to the, you're on the cast list and everything else. I mean, you don't have to worry about that anymore. And but I still think it's nice for sometimes to go back and do a lower budget film. I
Yeah.
know a lot of actors do it as favors.
Yeah, I'm directing something at the moment. So some of the people that I go and do their films for like very little, but they are, they're coming onto my film as crew. So it's like a nice trade-off sometimes. And I'd only do that if I'm working with my friends. I wouldn't do it, otherwise. But yeah.
Do you get asked a lot? Does that happen a lot? Do people ask you? I mean, there's a difference between doing a favor once in a great blue moon, and there's a big difference between doing a favor like that, or do people ask you for favors a lot in the sense that they don't want to pay you a rate and they just want you to come in, or
No.
happy with it. Yeah, yeah,
No, not really. I think when when you're starting out, you're willing to take those roles, but this is my full-time job. Acting is my work. That's how I pay my bills. So I can't go and do the free ones now because
yeah.
that's not paying the bills. So,
No,
and people have to understand that. Like, although you do get into acting because it's what you want to do, it's what you love. If it's a job, you have to look at it as it's work. It's your career. I mean, I
yeah,
have
I agree.
a couple of little sideline things as well that I do, because obviously acting, not many people are working every day of the week. So I also have a few other little bits and bobs going on, but my main work centers around like this industry.
You must be very popular on the convention circuit, though. I mean, are you? I mean, are you pretty much in demand? Do you find yourself being called to do a lot of conventions? And do you do conventions outside of England? Do you do some in Ireland or Scotland or France, or do you get invited to go to do those conventions as well?
Don't do too many of them. I've done a few. I've done some of the MCM ones in London and in Birmingham. I do Dark Fest, which is a smaller, it's in conjunction with Dark Side magazine. So I did that last November, and I'm hoping to go back again this November. So that's a very small convention, but it's a really nice day. I get asked to do a few. I would be very open to doing them elsewhere, but obviously they'd have to fly me over and book my hotels and what have you. So
Yeah, of
I
course.
haven't been over to the States yet, but I do feel like over the last year or so, I've had a lots of films that I've been in have been screening over in the States, in various states actually. So it would be cool to kind of go along sometimes and do stuff. So yeah, I'd be very open to it, but I I haven't been abroad to do a convention yet.
Now, have you filmed in the United States? Have you done any movies here in the States?
I have. I was out in LA for Axe to Grind. So that was one of my very early films actually. So that was in 2013, I think. So I just shot a movie over here called Serial Caller, which I'd written the original script of. The film that ended up wasn't quite my original script because crazy investors and you lose kind of creative control. But I literally finished that and then flew straight to LA to shoot Axe to Grind. And then I was back out there the year before lockdown. So I think it was just the December before we got locked down. And I shot for 2 films with Joshua Kennedy. So I shot what's it called? Cowgirls versus Pterodactyls and Saturnalia.
How did you like the experience of filming here in the United States versus filming in the UK? Was they very different?
Yes, it's sunny over there. No, actually, I mean, LA was really cool. I'd never been to LA before. So, I mean, it was a good experience. I had a couple of days off. So, between a couple of the cast members, they kind of babysat me on my days off and took me sightseeing. So, I managed to see a lot while I was out there. So, obviously, just being in LA was like a nice buzz. It was fun and it was beautiful sunshine. I think it must have been early summer, I think, when I was out there. And we shot in this huge ex-hospital, Linda Vista. So, I mean, you know, shooting the film was very similar to how we shoot here. So it was a very small crew. The catering was probably better there on a low budget film than we have here. So here on a low budget film, it's just like, you know, pot noodles and crisps or something most of the time, or supermarket wraps. And then over in Texas, I was shooting with a guy called Joshua Kennedy, he's an amazing, so he's a very good friend of mine anyway. And, you know, shooting with him, it was the tiniest crew. It was literally him and his friend and their studio. And then I was there doing all my scenes by myself. We shot at the beach. His mother actually did the catering for the set, and she went all out because she even made me a vegan cake, which was amazing.
I love it.
Yeah, so I mean, I loved that, and I'd love to come out there again. And I was due to go out there the following December, and then obviously we got locked down, and then the following December we were still locked down, and last year we weren't. But it's just, you know, he didn't have anything, he didn't have a film written that year. So hopefully at some point I'll be going back.
Yeah, it's people. It seems to be the wheels are slowly gaining momentum, though. I mean, and it helps. It helps to be in demand. You know, it's like like there are a lot of people out there that are definitely, once their project gets going, you'll get the phone call saying, "Hey, we want you to come out and do another movie." It must be sort of nice to be in that position to where you are in demand. Instead of just waiting there. I mean, do you have to audition very much now, Dani, or do the horror directors know you? Obviously, they know your work, they know your work ethic, they know your talent. They just call you up or your agent up and sit there and say, "Yeah, we got something for her. Here's the script. Let her know." Is it, or do you find yourself still have to audition for roles?
No, to be honest, generally people will drop me a message or. I mean, it's not that I wouldn't audition. I hate auditions. I mean, some actors love auditions. Some of them thrive on auditions. I don't. It's the same as how I don't do stage acting. I wouldn't do theatre. I don't want to be on stage. Like I like being behind the camera, and I like doing the kind of work on camera. And I do find auditions are very nerve-wracking. And I think I can never give my best performance in an audition. And they're often you're in the door, you're out the door so quickly in a whirlwind. You're like, what just happened? And I don't think you kind of ever give your best performance. So I'd rather do a video audition, so you've got the time to kind of do it again if you don't like it. I think on the flip side of that, though, the director can't work with you on a video audition. I mean, they can always come back to you and say, "Oh, could you do this differently?" if they want to see you again. So you don't get that kind of personalization in a video audition, and also they don't get to see your personality. So they just literally can only judge you on your acting. But I'm not a fan of auditions. So to be honest, for the most part, I don't get asked to. But I'm open to it. A lot of the time it's video audition now anyway. So, if I really wanted a part and I had to, I would do a tape. But yeah, for the UK horror industry, I tend not to get asked. They tend to stuff. But early on, early on, the auditions that I thought I did well in, I didn't get. The auditions that I thought I did terribly in, I tended to get. So you just don't know what people are looking for.
Isn't that how it always works? Isn't that how it always works? You get out there, do a kick-ass job, and you go like, "Hell yeah, I got this," and then crickets. And
Mhm.
then you go out there, and you had a flat tire. Somebody ran over, put mud on your dress. You walk in through there, you look like you just suffered a zombie apocalypse, and they look at you and say, "Yeah, you're the person we want." Doesn't it always happen that way?
It does. It does. It's strange.
Um, let's go back a little bit because you've had such a cool, interesting career.
Okay.
Um, so you went to acting school,
Mhm.
and when did you decide that you wanted to become an actress?
Oh God. I think when I was a little kid, I thought I'd love to be an actress. I used to watch like the Australian soaps and I was like, I'd love to be on Home and Away or Neighbours. And then, but I grew up in England in a small county. It was only 2 hours from London, but it's just acting is not one of those jobs that is a job that you can grow up. It's not, if you come from there, it's not, you have no clue how to grow up and be an actor. So I ended up studying fashion, and then I ended up modeling. And then through the modeling, so I quit college in the end. Through the modeling, I ended up moving to London. And then obviously being in London, going out in the West End and kind of being on the scene, you start meeting people, and then you kind of, so it kind of all happened organically, and I just kind of worked out, and I ended up actually doing a small role on a film, and I just really liked being on set. So I ended up enrolling at a drama school. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think from the modeling, I loved sort of being on camera, whether it's stills or filmed. But I just felt like modeling doesn't last forever. With acting, you've got kind of more chance to keep going. So
Yeah, I was reading about your modeling, and you appear in a hell of a lot of magazines.
I did.
I guess there's a term. We have them over here too. I don't know what we call them over here. I think we just call them men magazines. It's like Stuff, and there's some other ones. It's and then they show you come out and you model clothes and cars and stuff like that. Um, so how old were you when you were discovered? How old were you when you were discovered as a model?
I was about 19, 20, I think. So maybe 20. So it's a long time ago, and I worked for one of the newspapers called the Daily Sport, which was we call it glamour modeling. So it's kind of lingerie, topless, and then the magazines were called Lads Mags. So they'd have like jokes and football and or soccer as you call it, and all kinds of different things in them. So it was those kinds of magazines.
Now, the lingerie, is that what you did? You did the lingerie modeling, or did they ask you? Because 20 years old is awfully young to ask someone to go topless. Did they ask you to do that, and you said
No,
no, or
no, I did the topless.
oh,
Yeah, I mean, you can be 18 and do that. So
okay.
that was fine. It was, you know what? It was fun. No one made me do it. It was
No.
fun. I had
Did you
a
did, or
great,
did you feel
great fun.
comfortable doing it, or a little uncomfortable at the time?
No, it's fine. I've never been that shy, to be honest. So
Well, that helps, right? That does help. I mean, if you got self-confidence, right? Yeah, definitely, I can see that. So you started modeling, and now, and I'm sure that's probably where your first, that's where your first surge of fame probably came from. People probably recognize you from your magazines and the newspapers and whatnot. So what was it like do you remember the first time you were recognized because of your modeling? Because your modeling came before acting, right? Or were you doing it side by side by that?
it was before. But I tended not, the only time anyone would ever recognize me was when I literally had no makeup on. I was probably wearing a tracksuit and my hair was in a messy bun and I'd left the gym or something. And that's when I'd get spotted. And I'm like, are you serious? And then someone would want a selfie and I'm like, but I look horrific right now. So obviously I still did it, but
I doubt that. I'm sure I'm speaking for millions and millions of males when I say, yeah, I don't see you ever looking unattractive.
oh,
Um,
you didn't see the the Insta story I posted on Monday after I left the gym, then I looked like a beetroot. My face was bright red. My hair was in a bun. It was sweaty and gross.
And you're absolutely stunning.
I
This is
I
go with it. I mean, there's some women are like that, Danny. I mean, they can roll out of bed and they looking stunning like yourself. I mean, it happens. It is what it is. Uh, uh, but I'm sure though you're inside. Of course, inside you're sitting there going like, I don't look very nice. I don't. I wish I had a little bit time to dress up or whatnot. But you're living your life. And I think it's rather cool that someone recognized you without all your makeup on, without all your, the clothes and the big setting. I think because they saw you, you know what I'm saying? They saw Danny. They didn't see the image. They saw the person. So when they recognized you for that, I think that's cool. I think that's cool.
I make sure I have lipstick and mascara on when I go to the supermarket now, just in case. No,
uh,
I'm kidding. I don't.
now you got to go you got to go all around the country though once you started modeling. Did you do international modeling as well? Like I've talked to other actresses who've done modeling in Japan or other countries. Did you get to travel internationally to model?
Not so much. I did a couple of trips abroad, but just to Gran Canaria and Mallorca. So you'd go out there with one of the newspapers would pay, or the agency would pay, and you'd go out with the photographer and you'd take pictures on the beach, and then they'd either get sold to the newspapers, or if the paper paid, they would have those shots. But I didn't really travel about that much. Most of the industry was in London. I traveled about for the odd shoot with different photographers. The newspaper was actually based up in Manchester, so I went to their offices a couple of times, but generally the photographers I worked with were all London based.
Now, your experience though overall was really fun. You had a really good time doing it, right?
I did, but it feels like so long ago. I still model. I still do some modeling. I thought I would have quit completely doing that long time ago, but there seems to still be demand for it. So I've literally signed up to the Playboy Centerfolds today. So my profile went live
Oh,
today.
then I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, we can get into that, but that was literally this morning that went live. So I do still model, but I had a great time. But that whole side of me where I was, I was kind of, when you really immerse yourself in something. So I was modeling, but I was also doing all the partying. I was going out 4 or 5 nights a week in central London, going to the club. I'd never do that now. I'm a bit older, and I'm not really interested in going out like that. Now I'm more into hiking and being out in nature. But
I mean, I think that's normal though for any young person, any artist. When they're in their 20s, or the 20s are the mad years, right? So they go out. Yeah, once I hit 30, it seemed like I was out every night for 4 nights. Concerts and bands. I was just all into it. And then once I got to 30, I started looking over like at the watch, seeing what is it 10 o'clock yet? Is it time for me to go to bed? So I get that. I definitely get that. But boy, I would have loved to seen you out on the town though. Now, did you go to get
a lifetime though? It seems like so long ago. It feels like that's like another life away. That's completely sort of removed from what I do now. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. But like you said, I can't imagine doing it now. And I'm exactly like that. So if my friend was going to a party the other week, she's like, "Oh, will you come to this party with me?" I'm thinking it's like a daytime barbecue or something, and she's like, "Have to at 9." I was like, 9 o'clock at night? Are you nuts? Like, I'll be in my pajamas at 7. I'm not going out at 9. Like, 9 is past my bedtime. By 9, I'll be in bed with a book and a cup of tea, or a movie and a cup of tea.
Yeah, yeah. So how old were you when you first got on your first? What did you do first? Did you do TV first, or did you do your movie first? What came first for you, TV or movies?
I haven't done a lot of TV, so it was film. So it was.
You have done EastEnders, right?
Sorry.
You've done EastEnders, though, right?
God, no. I hope I never do. It's a terrible soap. Yeah, I can't stand British soaps. Actually, this is if I ever get offered a job, I'm doing myself out of work now. But they're all very depressing. I mean, because England's cold and it's raining and it's miserable, and I mean it's actually sunny today, but yeah, I think all of these British soap operas, they just have depressing storylines. And like, you just don't need it. I think I like the Australian soaps, they're glamorous and everybody looks good and it's sunny. So
That's
yeah.
right. We have to tell people right here that even though you are in the UK, you're based in the UK and you grew up in the UK, you are not British. You are Australian.
I am British. My passport is British, but I actually live in the East End of London. I do live in London's East End, so I'm a couple of
So
tubes
you,
from Whitechapel, which is where Jack the Ripper did all his stuff. I'm basically in the area where EastEnders would be set, but I'm not from here. I live in a nice gated complex, so it's all very nice in this bubble. And then you go out, and it's like, oh, I'm in East London.
uh, so is anybody? I dare anybody in the chat. I dare you guys to ask her if she's done Coronation Street. I dare you to ask her if she's done. I'm not doing that. Nope, nope, nope. I'm not asking if he did Coronation Street. Did you? No. So now you live on the East End. That is sort of ironical, right? Okay, so because we have talked to a few English actors on the show, and a lot of them did cut their teeth. You know, it's like every one of them went through and did an episode of EastEnders or Coronation Street or the Bill or Holby Street or whatever. It's like a rite of passage.
The Bill doesn't exist anymore, but I used to actually like the Bill, and I used to like Holby City. I don't know if it still exists. There's Doctors still exists. I don't know if Holby City does or not. I don't actually mind those, but they're not filmed in London. They're filmed. I think they're somewhere near Birmingham. They're a few hours away. So if it's like a day player role, I mean, I would do it. I would do one of
Yeah.
those.
Have you ever been asked to do it?
No.
Oh, okay, okay. I would just think because of you being a well-known actress, even though it's horror movies per se, but you're still a well-known personality and a talent. And I know that a
I'm
lot
just
of us
known in
don't.
the horror industry. I don't think I'm really known out of the horror industry. So I think I'm just kind of known by people that love horror.
Are you okay with that? Do you want to stretch your wings a little bit? And I mean, if someone came up there and said, Dani, I know you've done horror, but we want you to do a comedy, or we want you to do a dramatic role, or we want you to
I
do a.
actually enjoy comedy. I quite like doing comedy, and I think a lot of the horror roles that I've done have got kind of comedy elements, and you have to have that comic timing. So I would definitely be up for it. I don't personally like watching comedy. Um, some of it I do, but some of it I feel like it's enforcing me to laugh, and I'm like, I just want to laugh at something that's naturally funny, not something that is kind of sort of, I don't know. I find it a little bit odd. Um, but yeah,
You do comedy very, very well.
I enjoy doing comedy. I mean, I've just finished shooting an erotic thriller.
Oh, really?
I've got a feeling, I don't know what I'm allowed to say about it, but I've got a feeling it will be out before Christmas. So it's called Merry Triple Xmas. That's the working title.
Oh my gosh, that sounds rather spicy.
Yeah, I mean, there it was. I didn't have to do too much spice. I did a little bit, but not too much. I think some of the other characters had a lot more than I did, but I actually really loved the character I played. So she's kind of like this best friend who's a bit wild and a bit kind of. So I actually had a really good time on that, and we shot it last week, and I was really last minute. So we've just finished it on Saturday, in fact, actually, so
Now,
a couple of days ago. So
now,
that's
how,
different.
how,
So I
how
don't
did
know
you?
if erotic thrillers will be my new genre. I don't think so. I think one was enough, but it was a great cast and crew. Everybody was nice. It was fun. Everyone's very professional. So it's good to do different things.
I was gonna say. I mean, you'd be. I would think you'd be. When I was doing my background and I was thinking about this, I compared you to a pair of 90 icons back in the 90s, and we had cable, and they had a lot. They had a station out here called Cinemax, and they called it Skinemax. But what they did was they had a lot of those erotic thrillers out there,
Okay.
and two of the leading actresses, and they were mainstream actresses. They were well known. In fact, when I tell you their names, you're gonna go, "Oh yeah, I know who they are." One was Shannon Tweed, and the other was Joan Severance. and Mimi Rogers, also Mimi Rogers, who had been married to Tom Cruise. They did a lot of those. Sybil Danning, I'm sure Echo could probably drop some names too. Um, but yeah, the erotic thriller it's a very popular genre, and it seems to be making a comeback
Mm.
as far as that goes. Um, would you be comfortable doing more erotic thrillers or political thrillers or that kind of action? You know, where you
Yeah,
get a chance to shoot a gun,
it was
maybe.
fun. We had a good time on set. I mean, it was, like I said, it was nice cast and crew, so it was all good. It's not necessarily my thing.
Hmm.
Like, I think it's good to do something once. I think you run the risk if you keep doing the same kind of thing, like I have with horror. You run the risk of being that typecast as that. So I wouldn't want that to be my, like, I'd be happy to do another one, but like I wouldn't want to do too many because I don't want that to be how I'm seen. I think for me, the horror is kind of where, as much as I'm happy to branch out on the odd occasion, I think I'd like to kind of remain in my fold.
I don't know. I'd like to see you as being the chairman of the board. You know,
Yeah.
all dressed up in a black suit. You know, a little red. You know, red pumps or something like that. And you sit there and say, "Take them out." You know, it'd be something like really like,
Yeah,
holy shit, man,
yeah, I do like a kind of strong character like that.
yeah. Yeah, that's how I actually see you. I see you as just like a real strong character. That you would be a very wicked villainess. Um,
Being a villain, it's so much fun. I do enjoy, like, I feel like I'm better at playing stronger characters than I am at playing like the kind of the nice kind of more reserved characters, but it's so much fun playing a villain. And then I don't know if you've seen Powerful Cheerleaders versus a Boy Band of the Screeching Dead yet. um,
uh,
I
I'm
do
I'm
play.
gonna get into I'm getting into your library. I'm gonna have to get into this.
It's not actually released. It's still doing the festival circuit. I'm not sure what's happening with the release, but I didn't know if you'd caught it anywhere. But I do play a villain in that one, and obviously My Bloody Banjo, I play a villain, and I play the same character in Eating Miss Campbell, which has been doing the festival circuit, and I think is due a release at some point. I think it's pre-order at the moment. So yeah, I've played a villain a few times, and I've got to say I'm a fan.
That must be fun though. I mean, you must have oh, and the guys in the chat are remembering Cinemax. Yeah, yeah, Skinemax they called it because a lot of the erotic thrillers, and you're talking like I said, you're talking like well-named actors. They would do these. They do a lot of these erotic thrillers, and yeah, they were very popular there. Yeah, they call it Skinemax. CV mentions, yep, he remembers those days. Yep. Echo saying, I was too busy trying to get caught by my mom and dad back then when I would have gotten in trouble and lose cable in my room. Oh, if you have gotten caught watching Skinamax. You know what? I admit, I watched a few of those. I mean, because who who did not have a crush on Joan Severin? Thank you. Thank you. I mean, not only was she really cool looking, but she did a Wise Guy, and then she did a movie called the Black Scorpion, and she dressed up like a superhero, which leads me to my next question. And you have dressed up like Wonder Woman. Um, would you do a superhero movie if you got asked to, Danny?
Yes, I would love to, but I think I'd prefer to be a baddie. I'd rather be a super villain than a superhero. But yeah, I think that would be super fun, like having a really cool costume. I don't know what my superhero name would be or what my superhero power would be, but yeah, I'd quite like. I quite like doing a comic book type thing. In fact, Saturnalia, I get zapped out of a comic book, and I'm like a cave girl from outer space. But so that's kind of, and then I have fights with myself. Um, so that's fun. And I think that's actually on Prime at the moment, so you can watch that one. So that's kind of the closest I've got, I think, so far. But yeah, I think that would be super fun.
It would be fun. You'd be delightful to watch as a superhero, that's for sure. Or super villain, for sure. What was your first movie that you did book? What was the very first thing you did as far as an actress?
Oh God, I don't know. It was so long ago. Actually, well, there was a film called How to Stop Being a Loser, and I was basically an extra. I think I had one line, And that's the film that I went on to, and that's what kind of made me think, oh, I like being on set. This is what I want to do. But I mean, I wouldn't watch it. It's a terrible movie. It's got a great cast, but it's a terrible movie. I can't remember. I mean, honestly, I don't know.
Okay, I just looked at your movie database. I have watched one of your movies.
Which one?
I've seen one movie that you did do that you starred in. You starred in Pumpkins.
I did. Yes.
That was a weird movie. That was a weird one. I can't lie to you about that one. I was perplexed. I was like, okay, so none of this making any sense to me at all. But no, it was just it was the actress. It wasn't the actress. It was the story. It was just like it was just. And let me ask you this too, because now that you've done a lot of horror films,
Mm.
and you already know probably what I'm going to ask. Now that you've done a lot of horror films, and you mentioned earlier that you started screenwriting, do you
Mm.
find yourself starting to screenwrite even more so because you know what a good horror movie is versus one that isn't very good?
Well, I think I started screenwriting because I think if you're an actor, there's a lot of times when you won't be working, especially when you first start. So in between, it's like, well, why don't you write yourself stuff? Why don't you create work for yourself? And if you can create a script, then maybe you can, pull in some people and you can actually maybe make something. So I started that way. And I'll be honest, I knew how to write. I did writing at drama school, so I knew how to structure a script. I didn't know how to produce or do any of the other things. I just kind of winged it with my first couple of films. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but if I pretend I know what I'm doing, everyone will believe I know what I'm doing and I will make it work, which I did. But yeah, I mean, I don't, if I get an idea, I think, wow, I love that. Then I just want to run with it. And I think for me, my recipe is like, I like to have a bit of comedy in my characters. I like very kind of different characters. So I like my characters to all stand out on their own. They have
Mm.
very personalities when I'm doing a script. And yeah, I mean, I feel like if I write something, I know whether it might work or not. Whether it portrays that way when it's made, I don't know. I don't know. It depends. I think that's a question for the viewers. I don't know.
Um, uh, yeah, because I mean, I'm just thinking, horror films. A lot of script writers, a lot of screenwriters, they tend to, I think they worry about the 8 minute thing. Every 8 minutes we gotta kill somebody. A lot of times, a lot of the characters, they're just there. There's the pretty girl, there's the shy girl, there's the nerdy guy. The prototypical characters in a horror film. Let's get them out there. Let's get them on their roles. There's a nerdy guy. Oh, because you can tell because he has glasses on. But there doesn't really seem to be a whole lot of, and to me, for my horror films, the more the characters are fleshed out, the more the characters are come across as real people, the more I care about the movie, the more I care about the story. Even
Yeah.
though I know that the characters probably are gonna end up dying anyway. But to me, it's like, you know what? If that happens, that means the actress and the screenwriter has done their job. When I care what happens to your character, then they've done their job. Um, and so I know that sometimes in a lot of low budget movies, they don't have the time for a screenwriter to develop a character. You know, it's up to the actor to do it. If the actor can't do it, if the actor doesn't have the time to do it, it could be a real struggle for that movie. I mean, have you?
The two, because a screenwriter should write interesting characters. They should write characters with some depth and some substance. But also, the actor needs to take that character and they need to know exactly who that character is. They need to know what drives that character. They need to know, where they've come from. They need to know their backstory, what they like, what they dislike, even their favorite boy band, all of these things like that about yourself. You need to have worked that out of your character to be able to play them like as an authentic person. So it's on both of them. And even if you don't have all that in the script, an actor has to make that up themselves to kind of do the work before you get to set.
Well,
Does,
I mean,
don't always have a chance. I mean, to be honest, the film I've just done, I I got booked on the Friday and we started filming on the. I got booked on the Friday evening. I was out all day on the Saturday, so I only had the Sunday to learn my lines for the Monday. So I didn't have a chance to do that much character work. But luckily, the character, she was a bit of a wilder version of me, but I think there was a lot of me in there, so it kind of worked, I hope. But yeah, sometimes you don't have the chance, but if you do have the chance, you should do the work.
do you find yourself, Danny, when you get a, I mean, what attracts you to a role? I mean, what attracts you to a script? I mean, do you get very, I mean, do you get a lot of scripts sent to you every week? I mean, do you find, I'm thinking to myself, you must get at least, 5 or 6 calls a week about your availability.
That would be nice. It would be nice if that happened. I don't get quite that many. It goes through phases. Like sometimes it'll be like constant. So I was quite quiet, and then I suddenly picked up this film last week, and then I've got another film that I'm shooting on Sunday, and then I'm doing something else the following week. So this month's super busy, but some months are
I,
not.
I, I think you know what it is. I think people knew that we were doing this interview today, and I think they saw that and they said, "Oh hell, we got to get on the Danny train."
So shall I announce what they are? So there's one called The Art of Abuse, which I'm not in the horror part of it really, but I'm playing a counselor, which is a really nice different role for me. So
Yeah.
compared to normal like getting in the thick of all the horror, it's just something very different. So that's very fun. And then there's Ripper Revealed, which I'm actually playing Mary Jane Kelly, who is the
I was asking about
final
that.
victim. So I think the film starts with her death and then it goes into them trying to find him in the story. So I'm literally a cameo type role, very, very small role at the beginning. But the fun thing about that is it's a film about Jack the Ripper. Now I live in East London. We're filming in Wales. So I've got like a 5-hour car journey to get to Wales to do this shoot. I don't know much more about why, but I'm gonna make sure I get a hike in while I'm in Wales. So it makes it worth my while.
Um, yeah, I saw that on there. I was really, oh my gosh, you did Carnivores of London, Carnivore, Werewolf of London. Do you remember anything about that movie?
I'm in it for about 2 seconds. I was dating one of the producers at the time.
Did you ever meet
I
a,
did it as a favour, but yeah, I mean, I've never watched it. I think I had about 2 lines. It's like a tiny role.
did you ever get to meet the leading lady in that, Alana Johnson?
No,
That was a strange. Oh, yeah, that was a strange one. That was a little different. Yeah, I saw that. Though, Danny, I saw that. I was going to ask you about that, and of course, I have to ask you about this other movie too, because obviously, I have to. I do have a cheetah, so I saw the movie Big Cat. So I was gonna ask you what was Big Cat about? Is that a movie
is it
based
out?
on
What is it about?
the cheetah?
We filmed, yeah. Again, I'm only in it a little bit. This is what happens to me. I just get small roles in things now. Like they bring me down for a day, and then it's the same company as I'm doing the Jack the Ripper thing with. I can't remember what I did in that. I think I play an actress in it. Wasn't a very
Wow,
big role.
going against type, are you?
Yeah, it wasn't a very big role.
Uh, Now, does that frustrate you? I mean, now that you have a name and recognition, and people know who you are, and if they see you in a movie, they tend to gravitate to it. Like that's how I look for movies. When I go out and look for a movie, what I look for the actor, I look for a director, I look for a screenwriter.
Mm.
Those are what I look for. If I see your name on a cover of a movie, I'm gonna pick it up because I know who you are. Um, same thing with some directors. Like if Christopher Nolan comes out with a new movie, I'm gonna get it because I know who he is. Um, but I think it also comes with a little bit of it kind of comes with a little bit of, like you said, you do a lot of small parts, and it's like okay, you're getting her into these small roles, and you're getting to you're getting to use her name to help sell your movie, but you're not giving her anything really to sink her teeth into creative wise. is that frustrating for you? I mean, do you go up to directors and sit there and say, "Listen, I know you want me in for a couple of days,
Yeah.
but I want a part. I want a script. I mean, I don't want to be just seen as, oh, there's Dani Thompson. She's, she's here. She's going to be a badass for 30 seconds."
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, I've turned down stuff, even if it's a paid day's work, and I'm like, you know what, it's just not enough for me. And I've
Yeah,
said no. If it's a location that I think, oh, I can, this is how I judge things now. I'm like, if I can get there and I can get a hike in, and then it's kind of worth my while. I can, I can see a bit of the country, do something else exciting while I'm there, then I might do it. But yeah, I mean, of course, I prefer a bigger role. That sometimes it is nice just to go for one day, and
sure.
you've shot your bit and you're out, and it depends what the film is. I mean, sometimes if you're all kind of on set together and you're living in close proximity, I'd rather just be in for a day and out and kind of get out of the politics of things. But then at other times, it's nice to kind of have a role which you can, like, your character's got a real arc and a real development. So, which is what's nice about this erotic thriller, that even though, I was booked last minute, the character was in it throughout the whole film. So there's a lot of me in there. So, um,
Good, good. Yeah,
yeah.
because we see that over here, and it's something that we've talked about here on the show here with different directors and actors and whatnot. There's a lot of well-known faces like Danny Trejo or actually Malcolm McDowell is another one, and you'll see them in all these movies, right? They're all these movies, but they're only in the movie for like a minute.
Mhm.
They're just there to sell the movie. They're not there to act. They're
Yeah.
just there to be able to put the name on the cover. Jack the Ripper goes nuts. Danny Thompson. All right, and then the person buys the movie, and then you're in there for 10 seconds, and it's just like
Yeah.
it's frustrating. As a fan, it's frustrating to see that, and I can't even imagine what it would be like as a creator, as an actor. To,
I guess it's probably more frustrating for a fan that wants to see you in the movie, for them to then watch it and you're in it for 2 seconds. Um, Personally, like, it's a day's work, so I'm getting paid for the day. It would be nice to get paid for 7 days, but I'm going to get paid for the day if I'm doing something. So it is probably more frustrating for the viewers. So maybe I should put my foot down and say no.
Yes, yes. Tell us who the producer is so we can write to him and sit there and say, more Danny, less creepy villain. More Danny. Yeah.
You can put
Um,
that should have
uh,
been.
Now, what's more challenging to you because as a horror actress and now the first time that you asked to got killed or the first time you got to do a romantic scene, what is more challenging to Danny as far as those scenes go? Is it because I'm sure you've been killed a few times in the movies because the really pretty girls always die. They always do. The final girls are nice, but they're nice, wholesome girls. The really fun girls are one that you want to, ones you don't take home to mom, but it's all right. They always tend to get killed early. Oh no, it's like you're the fun girl. You're the absolutely like the joy of the movie. And the final girl's like, okay, yeah, okay, you're fun. You're
Yeah.
fun. Um,
What's more challenging? I mean, I've been killed so many times. I'm fine. I love a death scene. I would so much rather a death scene than a romantic scene. Romantic scenes are awkward. And remember, you're always under hot lights in close proximity with somebody who you wouldn't necessarily choose to be in that close proximity with, and you're probably sweating on each other because the lights are too hot, and it's just a bit awkward. I mean, it's funny. You just have to, as long as everyone's professional, it's funny. But no, I would much rather a death scene than a sex scene.
we have a term that we use here on we have a term that we use for that. We call it Sean Bean. I mean, how many times have you been Sean Bean?
What dies first?
Yeah. I mean, Sean dies in every movie he does. Every movie Sean Bean dies, he dies.
I
He
don't want to die first. I mean, in Axe to Grind, I died first, but I wasn't supposed to. So the
uh,
character I played originally, she lived at the end, so she was going to survive. But then one of the actors dropped out last minute, and obviously they needed their death toll up. So
right.
instead of me living, they decided they had to kill me, and they gave me her death, which was at the beginning. So Yeah, it didn't work out well for me. But usually I either die somewhere in the middle. I'm not usually first. Okay,
No.
I've like My Bloody Banjo. They shot the scene that killed me. They shot the scene that killed me again because they decided that they wanted a bigger location. And then they ended up keeping me alive in case there was a sequel. So I survived that one, even though I was a baddie. The director just liked me and was like, "We want you back."
You know what? Yeah. Why do horror movie always do that? Why do they always kill the most fun character?
I don't know. It's sad, isn't it?
It
Um,
is.
yeah, so he actually had me back for eating Miss Campbell, but he has re-released My Bloody Banjo, the director's cut. I haven't seen it. I think my copy should arrive tomorrow, actually. I've got a feeling I do die in this one, or there's an alternative ending. I don't know. Pandemonium, I don't know if you've seen that. That's definitely on Prime. I originally was supposed to die, and no spoilers, but just watch to the end credits and you'll see why I maybe don't die. And that's because they want to do a sequel. So it's nice when you're supposed to die and then the director decides that they really like working with you. They want to do a sequel. And
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, too is not only that, but when you find an interesting character and you don't want that character to necessarily die, it's like, I really like the character. Could you like spare the person, because she's a really cool character. She's a really nice character. Can you at least keep her alive for the sequel or as a survivor or the final girl? Um, um, what's the most creative way that you've died so far? And do you ever have a say in how you die? Like, like, okay, we're gonna kill you off here. Well, how are you gonna have me killed? Well, we're gonna have a pack of rats kill you. Nah, let's do something else.
as long as it's spiders, I don't care. Um, what has happened to me? I've been strangled by Santa twice. So that's quite a niche death to have happened twice. Uh,
you don't like Christmas anymore, do you?
I love Christmas. I had a full face, so it went straight in my mouth and out my neck. I've been eaten by zombies. I've been stabbed by a panda, but I survived. Um, how else have I died? I think I've been melted.
Now, do you have you don't have to do it here, but are you well known for your scream? Is that part of one of the most? I mean, and so how do you do that? Take after take. How do you protect your throat when
Don't.
you are dying? Like, okay, we're gonna have you die, so you got to scream. And
Just, you just scream. It is what it is. If I did it now, my neighbours would come running. I live in apartments. I'd wonder what's going on. Well, maybe they wouldn't. They know what I do. So there's one of the guys who often does sound for his films. That I've worked with a lot. So I worked with them on Ice Cream on the Beach, is where I get the pole through my face. But also Video Shop Tales of Terror we're doing, and Mosaic. And whenever I scream, he's always like, I always forget how loud you are because and now I warn people, I'm like, you might want to take your headphones off because it's going to be very loud, or turn the volume right down so I don't deafen you. But he always, I mean, he knows me well and he tends to forget. And every time he's like, I always forget how loud you are. So yeah, it's loud.
yes. I was gonna say, but that's the term. Do you like the term? Do you like the term screen queen, or is that term in the UK? Is that a respectful term? Because here in the US, it's if you get called a screen queen,
Oh, it's
it's a,
fine.
it's a sign of respect.
For a long time, I didn't think I'd done enough to deserve it. So I called myself a scream princess because I thought, I'm kind of working my way up to queen, but I didn't feel like I'd done enough to be a scream queen. I was like, I know I'm a scream princess, that because I'm not on the level with like loads of people who have done so much more with me or so much more than me, and I didn't feel like I deserved it. But now I'm kind of okay with the queen thing. I'm like, okay, so maybe I have done quite a lot now.
You've earned it.
I've
You
done.
earned it. You got a very impressive body of work. So yeah, you've earned it. Now, I guess the real fun question is, how many people have you killed on screen? Now
Ah,
you've died several times, but how many times have you done the dirty deed?
oh my goodness. I don't know if I've killed anyone, have I?
Oh, come on. You'd be perfect for that.
I don't know if I
You'd be
have.
like you'd be like the last person anybody would suspect. That's the beautiful thing about it. It's like, oh, there's no way that sweet young lady over there would be a killer.
I mean, I've hit people over the head with bottles, and I've done. I don't know if I've actually killed anyone. I've never really been a murderer. I've been a baddie, but not a baddie who's been a killer. I've been a baddie who's just a bitch. Never necessarily the killer. I need
So
to.
we're gonna
Yeah,
change that around so you become like a bitchin' killer.
yeah. I need to be a killer. Somebody
Yeah.
needs. Somebody needs to write this role.
See, see those erotic thrillers. A lot of the times, the you know
No
the
one died.
femme fatale. The um yeah, I was gonna say if you ever if you ever killed anybody on screen, um how do you prepare for it? I mean, is it become has it become so like like that you most like maybe 50% or 40% of the movies you die in. Do you know that going in that that's going to happen? And I mean, is it hard to gear up for that, or is it just work for you now?
No, it's just work, and it's fun work. It's work, and it's like, I mean, no one's really killing me. In fact, one of the films,
Yeah. I'm glad we wouldn't be having this talk.
well, My Buddy Joe, the director Liam Regan, he just posted something where they had taken his trailer off. It was either YouTube or maybe Amazon. They'd taken it. It was YouTube or Amazon or something. They're taking it down because it portrays real death or something. And I'm like, yeah, I am really dead. One of the other actors was like, oh my God, you killed me for real. And so he's like kind of had an argument. So he was like, well, nobody is acting. It's a script. No one's died. And they were like, oh, well, I don't know. So there's an argument going on. It's over on Twitter if you're interested. At the moment, his post, Liam Regan or Refuse Films. Yeah, very strange. But yeah, I mean, of course, you know what's going to happen because it's in the script. So you don't tend to usually get there, and then they're suddenly like, we're going to kill you, and you weren't supposed to be killed off in the script. So yeah, you know what's going on.
Now, if you were going to write your script now it's your screenwriting, and would you in your scripts would you write yourself as dying, or like you're this is your story, or would you make yourself to be the last woman standing?
Yeah, I live.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so much more fun.
yeah.
So much.
In the films that I've written so far, I've survived, and I'm currently writing a vampire one, in which case I'm the undead. So
What are three things that you work on now? You work on now as far as your acting goes. Do you still take classes for your acting? Do you are you
no,
do you do anything? Do you do table reads? Anything else like that to improve as an actress?
no.
What do you think are your three best parts about your acting, and three parts that you would that you feel you could work on?
Oh God, I don't know. That's down for the directors I work with to say. I mean, I don't know. I don't take any classes. I did full-time drama school, and I feel like there has to be. You're always learning, and you learn while you're working, and you learn with each different director you work with, and each different writer you work with, and every actor you work with, you learn from them. So you're always learning when you're on set. As far as classes, you could do classes forever, and it's like when do you stop, when do you, but you're learning while you're working. So I don't do classes. Table reads I have to do sometimes if there's a director who is has cast his script and he wants like a kind of a table read as a rehearsal. We'll do that, so that's absolutely fine, and again they'll direct you and you're learning. So God, I don't know, that's a tough question.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I do ask that once in a while because it's because I don't know because I know a lot of actors. I've never met an actor, not one, that's walked in there and just said, "Yeah, I'm the cat's meow." They're always sitting there saying like, what could you do to improve, or what? And they
Yeah,
always have something. They always have something like, I know I could do this better. Or I would think about this better.
I can
Um,
do accents. I've never really tried that hard either. And I have had to do. I had to do an Essex accent, which is I don't know if you've ever seen Towie. It's not the best accent to have, and I had to do that in a film. And I was like, "Do I sound right? Is this what it sounds like?" And some of the crew were from Essex, and they were like, "Yeah, it's good." They liked it, so I've had to do that. I've had to do a little bit of a bit. It's terrible, but luckily I was playing a character who's a bad actress, So the American accent she had to do, it didn't matter if it was bad because it was bad.
Let's hear your American accent.
Oh God, no, 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 no. No, I never.
You're among friends, Dani. You're among friends.
No, no, I'd be terrible. And because there are so many different states, and they all sound different.
That's true. That's true. Real quick, if you don't mind talking about this, because this is fun. So you did the Playboy. You was that that's pretty fun. That was pretty interesting seeing that. What made you decide to try?
So Playboy, it's not actually the magazine. I've done. I actually years and years and years ago, I did an episode of Playboy TV's Around the World in 80 Babes, and it was when I first moved into this apartment actually, and they came here, and then I had to take them on a tour around London. So they had like different countries, and they had girls from the different countries for each episode. So they took me to Stringfellows and like had a dance lesson, and I took them on a drive around London to see Big Ben and the Millennium Dome. And I can't remember all of it. So I did that years ago, and I do have a Playboy bunny tattoo, actually. That's my first tattoo I got when I was 18. But the Playboy Centerfold is something new that they've done, and it's an app, or it's a website. It says it says www.playboy.com/app, and then /Dani Thompson will find me. But it's basically it's kind of like an OnlyFans-esque idea. So people can either subscribe to a particular model. So you can scroll through, you can find the models, you can find their profiles. So there's an option of either subscribing to their page and then getting all of their pictures for free, or you can see they'll have like one promo picture for each set of pictures maybe, and then you have to pay a little bit to see the rest of them. So it's probably cheaper in the long run just to subscribe to get all of their content for free. It's basically a content website, but it's part of Playboy. So obviously they've branched out now, and this is something that they've done. So I actually applied a while ago. I didn't see it advertised actually. A friend told me about it. And when I applied, I think there was just an influx of applications. So whereas things like OnlyFans, if you sign up and you've got ID, anybody can do it. So they're not fussy about, what you do or who's on there. Whereas the Playboy one, they do vet their models. So they, you can apply, but you might not get in. And then I got a fast track message yesterday saying they fast tracked my application, and I just had to do the ID thing. So I did that this morning, and it is live.
Do you think as an actor, do you think sites like OnlyFans is that a helpful tool for an actor, or is it something it's a little bit at risk for an actor? I mean, because you don't want to lose your acting credibility. And a lot of people say OnlyFans, and whereas I think OnlyFans can be anything that you want it to be.
That's what you put on there. I mean, if you're, I don't put anything that risque on there. So it's, nothing that I haven't done before. So there will be some topless pictures, but mainly it's lingerie. So I don't go past my boundaries. So it's not anything that I haven't done in my modeling career. It's not anything that, is going to come back and bite me. So I think that's where you and the thing is, there's so many different people on there that do different things. And I've got to, obviously for lockdown, it paid my mortgage. So for me, it was like, I didn't have it before lockdown. I signed up to OnlyFans in lockdown, and I was like, I need to do something because there's no work.
Yeah, I agree.
It's still there. I don't post on it as much, but I think the Playboy one, I think is a bit more prestigious. I think the name Playboy just sounds a bit better. So, I'm going to see how they both go. I'm going to see how the Playboy one works out. And then, eventually I may switch fully, or I might not. I don't know. But yeah, I think, you've got, super famous actresses have gone and actually shot Playboy real centerfolds. So if it's done tastefully and the pictures are classy, and I think if you own it, then I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
No, I've never had a problem with Playboy. I was a fan. I've always been a fan of the magazine. The girls are really pretty, but like a lot of people, that's a joke. When people say, "Yeah, I get it because I read the articles," but holy shit, that's really the truth. A lot of people got that magazine for the article.
I do have one edition. My ex-boyfriend years ago was in the States when there was a Pamela Anderson edition, so he did buy it for me as a present. And I've looked at the pictures, but I've never read it. I actually haven't read it.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, I guess I mean, what advice would you tell yourself? For now, what advice would you give your younger self who's just entering the business?
Uh,
What pieces of advice would you tell yourself, you know, to do or don't? Would there be anything that you would do different, or are you pretty happy with your choices that you've made up to this point?
I'm pretty happy with my choices.
I
I
think
think
so too.
going into acting, going to drama school earlier, and then kind of realizing my niche earlier. And obviously, it's now it's kind of it's all worked its own way. I mean, it's worked very organically. So it's like the people I've met along the way are the people that I work with and that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I would have kind of probably gone into acting sooner. So the modeling was great. I probably would have found my horror niche sooner, so I could have, because when I was modeling, it's very different to what it is now. So it was the magazines and things. They don't even exist in the UK anymore. There's no lads mags left. It's all literally online. So yeah, I mean, I don't really TikTok. I haven't really worked that out. So maybe I'd have kind of got more into that kind of thing. But there's only so much time you can spend on social media, isn't there?
Right. Oh yeah. Well, your social media is not bad. I think you got 15,000 people on Instagram. I mean, it's like that's not exactly a small amount of people. That's pretty big. I mean, it's pretty to me. That's 15,000. That's a hell of a lot of people. Do you enjoy engaging with your fans, or are the fans are they sort of crass sometimes? I mean, how do you handle that aspect of your career?
That
You
has
know,
so I've got mine set so that only people I follow can comment on my posts, because otherwise you've got people writing really stupid things and you're like, why would you, if you wouldn't say that to a girl that you met in the street, why would you say that to somebody? So I don't let people comment on my posts, so I don't engage that much, because obviously people can't comment. So I think if you left it open, then engagement is important. And I'm sure I'd have a bigger following if I engaged, but I also don't have time to kind of go through there and delete messages I don't like and all that kind of thing. So I don't tend to, I don't message people on there. If people send me inbox messages, unless it's some, like if it's a work one, like I'll see them, but I won't respond generally because I don't have that much time. I'm working. I can't sit on social media all day long. Like if people do want to talk to me, then they can go on my OnlyFans or, and which I will put in like an hour a day and that will be that time. But yeah, I can't.
yeah, I was just, for me, while I was scrolling through, I was, thinking, finding guests, and I saw you had done, you've done a lot of horror films, so it's like that's, someone that I would be interested in talking to. And then once I got to know you a little bit more when I was doing the background, I was really impressed. I mean, I just liked your personality. That's why I used to picture that I did. I used to picture you in normal street clothes working on a set with a clapper.
Yeah.
I thought that was the sort of like how the picture, when you said the fan recognized you and you weren't all glamoured up. And I really like that picture of you at work, without being all glamoured up, because to me it's like that's who she is. The
Yeah.
the the super glamorous shots. That's part of your job. But the girl in the shorts and going out there with the crew and doing a clapper and picking up cables, that's who Dani Thompson is.
So I was directing a piece. I've got one more day left. It's a piece called Dragon, which is there's some guys did a film, Myco Entertainment, Myco Pictures. They did a film called Horoscopes, and they asked 12 people to direct a piece, and they gave us all a star sign. They gave me Gemini, so that was Horoscopes. And now I'm now doing Horoscopes 2, which is Chinese horoscopes, and they gave me Dragon. So that picture was actually from the first day of the shoot, which was a few weeks ago. It's only a few weeks ago, and we got a really warm day. Shot it in the forest, and that was from there. But I've got one more day to shoot, and I've got a set designer working on some sets for me at the moment, and I'm just kind of doing the last little bits of pre-production, and then we'll be shooting that next month.
Dani, I'm gonna go ahead and ask if anybody has any questions. Oh, Echo says he'll never watch a Christmas horror film again. I love Christmas horror. Christmas horror is really fun. It really is. Of
I
course,
don't
I'm gonna
really
be.
like Christmas, but I like it too.
I'm looking. I'm looking once again. I'm looking at this. I cannot wait for Big Cat. Big Cats. That's in post production, and I'm gonna see who's it. I'm gonna have to go and look at this up for a minute. let's see. With Ichabod Price, a respected cryptozoologist, decides to shoot a documentary about alleged cheetah sightings in the English countryside, who he soon discovers more than big cats lurking in the woods.
Mm.
Man, I love you already for that. You know, putting a cheetah in this movie. You're awesome. Um, that well, wait a minute. It actually says panther, but panther's just another word for cheetah, right? Um,
No, different. Panther's black, cheetah's got spots.
yeah, yes. The cheetah. Actually, you have a cheetah spot. You're actually sitting on a cheetah print right now.
Good.
I thought that was sort of cute. Um, I want to thank you for coming out and hanging out with us today. I really am grateful of your time and of your generosity. I had such a lovely time talking to you. I knew this is exactly what it was going to be like, and
Mm.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad that we got in touch to do this. You're absolutely a delightful human being, and quite stunning, as you probably heard of before. And you definitely have a really, really good sense of self around you, and it's empowering. I like it.
Good.
Yeah, I do. I think it's really cool. It's sexy. It's powerful. And we wish you the utmost success. We do hope that you'll come back and hang out with us sometime soon
Love to.
down the line. Um, yeah, and if is there anything that fans would? I mean, what do you have anything coming out like within the next month or so that we know about? Month or two? Is there any
Not
movies coming
coming,
out?
but I would like to plug Video Shop Tales of Terror because that's we're now shooting the second part, and Video Shop 1 is available to pre-order. If you have a look over on the Video Shop, I was going to say Instagram page, or I'll probably post it out on my Instagram page. There's a link there if anyone wants to pre-order it. But that's been a big project. It's an anthology movie. Sing Lao is the producer, and it's got Alex from Tiz Films. And they've had different filmmakers make different parts of it, and I've ended up in 4 out of the 5 segments and the wraparound. So I'm in that one a lot. So there's no chance of you saying that anyone gave me a small role in that one. And the second one, we've already shot the wraparound. So
Good, good. I like a good anthology film. Anthology films work when they do about 4 or 5 stories.
yeah.
Anything more than that can get a little heavy.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I love anthologies. I like the list of the credits that you have coming up here. It just the movie just looks absolutely fun. That's what it says. It says to me fun. Well, except for maybe Ripper Revealed. That's a little bit more serious. So, but everything else you have here looks absolutely 100% just fun. Um, let me ask you this before I let you go because I do want to talk about that 1 second. What was it like to do a true crime movie? You know, you knowing that the Jack the Ripper was,
Yeah,
you know,
shooting it next week. Haven't shot it yet.
okay. Um, have you thought about your character, Mary Jane Kelly? Did you do any research on her
Oh, you
before?
know. And so you might think I'm a weirdo or not, but because I do love a good hike and a good walk, last year my friend, he works in London, but like on an evening, he'd be like, "Well, let's go on a walk," because it stays light till like almost 10 o'clock. So we'd go on like walks around London. And one day, I think we did do this on the weekend. I said, I'd read a book called The Five by a feminist writer called Hallie Rubenhold. And instead, because obviously Jack the Ripper is kind of glorified, but he's a villain. He's not he's not a hero. He's a bad guy. And so she wrote a book about the 5 victims, and she kind of told their life stories. And they weren't all prostitutes. I think only 2 of them were definitely prostitutes. The other were just kind of women down on the luck that ended up on the streets. So she told their stories. It's the first time you actually, they've come to life. You've heard their stories. So I've read that. So I kind of know a bit about Mary Jane Kelly. And then I just read this book and I said to my friend, and I Googled where they're buried, the victims. Do you fancy going on a little hike of a tour of some graveyards? And he was just like, yeah, he didn't even question it. He just thought that's the kind of thing I would do. But I found out where they're buried. I think there's 3 of them still have graves. 2 of them have their still graves. 2 of them have been kind of dug up and moved, but they've got plaques on the floor, and one of them just has nothing. But I knew where the graveyard was. But I thought we'll just go to the graveyards and then we'll go hunting for the grave, and we'll find them. Little did I know how big the graveyards in London were. I mean, we would still be there a year later looking for the first grave. Luckily, he used his common sense and he Googled for like maps of where they're actually buried. So we actually managed to follow the instructions and found them all. So I have done some research a little bit.
Yeah, is this gonna be the first time you played a real person?
Yes, yes. And I thought that she was Irish, but it turns out she was, and then she moved to Wales. So there's a chance she could actually have a Welsh accent rather than East London. So I was thinking she's going to be from East London. My version of Mary Jane Kelly probably will be from East London because
I'm probably gonna send you. You're gonna film that next week. I'm just curious. I'll send you a letter, just letting you know, a note. I want to see how you handled that role. I mean,
well, I sent a photographer I work with and who's also a very good friend of mine. He sent me a book of the Jack the Ripper case files. And strangely enough, before I got cast in this role, he'd sent me a pile of an email with a pile of the letters that had been written by him that his friend had found once. So while she was doing research for another film. So he just sent it because he thought I'd be interested. And then I got cast in the role. So and then he sent me this book. So I've got that to look at.
it's gonna be interesting to see how you see how
Yeah.
deep you get
It's
into
a
her
very
skin.
small role. It's it's a tiny role. It's just the death scene that starts the film. So it's not that in depth, which is sad because actually I would
Yeah.
to have actually given her a little bit of justice and played her as she was. But yeah, it's a very small role. It's by the same people that did Big Cats and Demons at Dawn and I've done something else with them. I can't think for the life of me what it was, but yeah, it's the same company that they kind of get me in as a day player every time.
Um, all right, Danny, I tell you what, it is now deep in the night, and there's time for you to get your cup of tea and a book. And
Yes,
for me to let you go, I want to say thank you to the chat for coming out and hanging out with us.
all right.
We will be back tonight at 8 o'clock with young director writer Mason Greer. He'll be here at 8 o'clock. I have all of Danny's socials down below in the description box. You can go ahead and go check those out, and so follow her on Instagram. And yeah, thank you so much. If you want, I can. If there, do I have all your sites on here? Let me double check that, because if there's anything I forgot, you can tell me about it.
Insta, that's Facebook. Twitter's Miss Danny Tees 2 because my original Twitter got hacked in January. So I've only got about 600 followers on my new Twitter account because I had to start again. And I've just joined, what's this new one?
Oh,
Threads.
Thread. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I have to make sure I follow you on there as well. I got your personal website down there. I have your Instagram, and I also have your IMDb page. Anything else, let me know about. I'll put it on there. But thank you again, and have a lovely night. And stay right where you are for 1 second until all the chat. I'm going to say goodnight, and we'll see you. We'll see you in about 4 hours. Have a great day. Stay right where you're at.